Koji, listen to me, mate. Your dad's got to go on camera now. Got to give it a little roundup video for my time with VW. You remember that car, don't you? You loved that car. The blue fast one? The one that was making all those rad noises? Whew. So my VW journey began on the weekend of the 9th and 11th of February 2019. I had the special invitation to go out to Sweden to an area known as the Arctic Circle. Nothing but ice, sheer ice everywhere, huge depths of snow. When we arrived, there was this kind of driveway leading up to the accommodation block with just beautiful, shiny VWR Golfs just lined up perfectly with a number. You were allocated a number, we were number 1. That was our car for the weekend. I remember we jumped into these cars, and as a convoy, we were playing around with the steering on the snow roads down to the track, and we arrived at this track, and it was quite literally a frozen lake. They've designed it in such a way which is segregated off into patches where you can develop different skills. A bigger track where you can open up some speed, a turning circle / donut area where you get taught how to drift. That was unbelievable. The first question they asked when I arrived was, "Are you a good driver?" I was like, "Yeah, I think I'm quite good." Shouldn't have said that to him. Because about 2 hours later, I was in the car with 2 professional drivers. Never been in the company, never really seen a professional driver, and it's only when you're in the car with these drivers do you get an actual appreciation for the skill level they've got. It's unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it before. I learned a whole bunch of stuff about how to handle a car, learned some really cool tech aspects about the Golf R itself. My biggest and most prominent memory from the whole thing is the crash that I had on the last day. It was monumental. It was a right-hand bend to finish off the straight into the last corner where all the cars were parked up waiting. I was the last car off the track. And as I whipped it into this last corner, everything went to pot. I just got too excited. I lost control in a huge way. I went so fast and so hard. I went off the track and I kind of bobbled up onto the banks. My car door was so damaged they had to rip it off. At the end of all that, we had a sort of a roundup presentation for the weekend, and the guys at VW, they presented me with a signed car door as a little memento, and this is what they gave me as a souvenir from my time. I mean, this is part of the front bumper or something, but anyway, it's got all the signatures. I don't know if you can see there, but it was a nice little touch. This is kind of the car buried up into the banks off the track. So yeah, that's where it all began. It was an incredible weekend, and I thought that was kind of where my journey with VW was probably going to end. And if it had been that case, I would have been really quite chuffed with things, but fortunately for me, they came back and said, "Listen, we want to partner up with you for the year and we want to set you a few challenges." So I was completely flattered by that. They wanted me to do a couple of races throughout the year, and the eventual ultimate goal being the Transalpine race, which I'll get to later. So we're now into the month of May. They invited me back out to Germany. It was right tucked up on the border of Austria, and this was a training camp weekend set up for myself and other people taking part in the Transalpine race later in the year. So for me, it was my first experience of being on the trails in the mountains. I jumped at the idea of taking part in these trail races because 1, I love to be outdoors, 2, I love testing myself in a physical and mental way. But on this training camp, it was a realization behind how complex and difficult it is to manage these trails. The terrain, the gradient, the wild beasts on the tracks. There's a lot that goes into it. So this training camp proved to be really useful. A month later is when the first race came about. So this was the Zugspitze 25-kilometer ultra trail race. So this is back out to Germany. And I went out there with a good friend of mine, Matt Wilcox, who is a seasoned runner. I took him along with me, 1 for kind of moral support, 2, I wanted some help capturing the event, so we made some good content around that, and 3, just I needed someone who knew how to navigate through these trails safely and efficiently. The race was incredible. We were blessed with such good weather. Really pleased to have finished that in one piece. So then in July, by this point I'd fully recovered from the first race, we went up to Goodwood for the Festival of Speed. This was a chance for me to kind of slip back into normal clothes, no running shoes required, and we got to soak up speed and endurance of a different kind. There was some unbelievable cars on display, and we were there to see the Volkswagen IDR car, which was their version of an electric Formula 1 car. Unbelievable. It smashed the course record. Everyone was like, "Oh my god." It literally blitzed the course records. So that was a really fun day, and it was a nice chance to catch up with some of the faces who were on the Zugspitze 25k race. And yeah, it's just a nice chance to kick back and not worry about competing in a race, just to kick back and relax and enjoy what VW were putting on display for that day. It was really cool. Paris. So this was a little bit different to what we've been doing throughout the year. By this point, I'd been driving the Golf R around London primarily, but sometimes dipping out to the countryside for runs and training sessions. But I'd never really taken the car on a long haul journey. Me and Louise put together a little fun concept where she would take the Eurostar to Paris and I would drive from here and race her to Paris. Whoever kind of arrived at the hotel would win the race. She unfortunately won the race, but I definitely had more fun. I mean, we spoke a little bit on the journey. As you might expect, she was in the first class carriage, just kind of relaxing, all peaceful and tranquil. And then I was in the car with some friends at this point, and we were just ragging the car, throwing it around the motorways, going through the different French villages, which is, it was so much fun. As an all-round package for the car, it does it all, literally does it all. So now we are right at the start of September, and this is it, the moment in the calendar which we sat down and spoke about early on in the year, and this is the Transalpine race. For those of you who don't know what the Transalpine race is, it's an 8-stage race across the Alps. It starts in Germany, it finishes in Italy. Out of the 8 stages, I did the first 2 stages. The first stage, first day of the race, was a total distance of 42 kilometers, and I think the total elevation was 2,500 meters. The first day was a serene, magical experience. I couldn't quite believe it. It was effectively a marathon. The sunshine was out all day, no pain throughout the whole day. I really just went in there with a different mindset to just enjoy the process, and it helped so much because you just removed the pressure from yourself. I wasn't there to win it, I was there to enjoy it, to document it. Max was also with me again. Finished that night, went for a huge pizza and pasta, woke up at 5 AM the next day, and again, surprisingly, no pain. I thought that I'd be stiff, I thought I'd have red hot blisters on my feet, nothing. But then, quite literally on the start line of day 2, the weather just changes like that. It goes from sunshine to quite stormy, heavy clouds. And I was like, oh God. So immediately the wet weather kit comes out. The very first stage was a 900 meter elevation. And because the rain at this point was coming down, it made it so hard because the water was just trickling down the mountain. It was like a sludge train, or whatever you want to call it. It was crazy. So that was a pretty brutal start. But thankfully I got through that with the help of Max. Day 2 was definitely a lot harder than the first day. I think I arrived in Lech, and that was my 2 stages complete then. I was thrilled, I was so proud of myself. The whole thing was just so enjoyable, and it wouldn't have been possible without VWR and them offering me the challenge and the invitation to take part. So I'm hugely thankful to them for that. It was unforgettable. To anyone who has a marginal interest in the Transalpine, 100% do it. It's beautiful. The last calendar event for the year was to head out to Nice, and this was in October. This was for the soft launch of the T-Roc R, which was VWR's latest vehicle. It was a CUV, which is a crossover utility vehicle. Unbelievable machine again, and the engineers at VWR had built in these performance aspects which make the VWR separate to anything else on the market. It had lots of the qualities that the Golf had in terms of the zip, the sound, the speed, the handling, and it's probably something that you wouldn't expect that kind of car to have because it's bigger. You wouldn't expect it to drive like it did on the mountains, but again, such a unforgettable experience. These mountain roads in France, which are generally quite quiet, it's only really the occasional cyclist you see going because they're quite into their cycling out there. It was almost like I was in just a real life situation of Top Gear. There was a small convoy of these T-Roc R's lined up, and we were just whipping through the mountain roads, through these stone tunnels, and mate, it was unbelievable. So I think to summarise, it's hard to express and to describe and kind of give you a flavour for what I've experienced this year with VWR. It's been completely unforgettable, so much more than I originally thought it would be. I'm very, very eternally grateful to VWR for the opportunities. You know, it started off in Sweden, and then they just kept coming back with more of these kind of what I perceived as once in a lifetime opportunities, you know, to go out to the mountains in Germany and be effectively taught how to run properly and safely through the hills, and then to take part in 2 very well-known and prestigious races, to go to Goodwood for the Festival of Speed and to be looked after incredibly well. And then it finished up in Nice with the T-Roc R launch, and to be involved throughout the whole year has been a huge honour. Yeah, it's been incredible. It's been incredible.